Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in Monday morning here at the Steven Singer Studios. Welcome to the Farzy Show. My name is Marc Farzetta. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Oh, my God! Oh, my God! Ah! That was my reaction Friday when I saw Joel Embiid's knee bend in the wrong direction. I was going to freak out. I know a lot of people were going to freak out. I find comfort, and I am probably on an island here, but I find comfort in the words of J.J. Redick, and I've said this before, that Joel Embiid can be rather dramatic. Now, I'm not saying that he was embellishing anything. I'm sure he was in pain. I'm not taking away from anything there. I'm just saying on my own idiot brain, I look back and I go, oh, J.J. Redick always said he was dramatic, so if you think JoJo is really hurt, just maybe back it off a little bit, and he's going to be okay. And I was tweeting with some people. I was texting with some people. Everyone was concerned. I'm concerned. I was concerned. But something just told me it wasn't going to be a season-ending injury. Something told me it's going to be okay. He's going to be fine. You can have nice things in Philadelphia. Don't completely lose your mind. And sure enough, 2 to 3 weeks, be reevaluated. Daryl Morey even talked about it on social media. The Sixers even released that statement saying be reevaluated. And that term reevaluated usually gives me concern. But when you know there's no structural damage and it's just a bad bruise, essentially, I can live with it. I can calm down, and we can all enjoy the Sixers for what they are. And one of the things that's the most enjoyable thing is what they are doing without Joel Embiid and taking care of business against the Bulls, beating the Wizards, and then taking the Spurs. This is what they did last night to the Spurs. They took the San Antonio Spurs, and they put them over their knee, and they spanked them. That's what happened. And it wasn't like they were even bad. It was just that they were terrible at basketball. And the Sixers were wonderful. Masterful performance. Experts who know are nothing worth bragging about. We get it. But what they were able to do last night by getting the bench into the game towards the end, what they were able to do with some of the guys that are trying to come along in this whole process, like a guy like Matisse Thybulle trying to develop his offensive game, it was marvelous. And if you're going to welcome fans back for the first time in over a year, what better way to do it than with a dominant performance over the opponent who just happened to be the San Antonio Spurs last night? But I loved watching last night's game and watching some of the highlights of the game afterwards as well, and seeing how on the national stage the Philadelphia fans were the story again, being allowed back in the building. The Sixers, from what it looked like, and reading, I highly recommend today reading David Murphy's piece from Inquirer.com. It is phenomenal. Just talking about how good a job the Sixers did with welcoming people back, how good the atmosphere was at the Wells Fargo Center, and how these are giant steps towards normalcy again. And that old normal that we used to know so well, that we just called life, pre-pandemic, pre-masks, pre-everything, pre-Rudy Gobert shutting down the NBA sports and then later the world. Like, that's what last night felt like. It felt like even more steps towards normalcy. So I highly recommend, if you read something today, definitely check out David Murphy's column because it's a great piece. But last night, the fans were a huge story. And again, 3,000 fans allowed at the Wells Fargo Center. They're sprinkled throughout the arena, and they were coming through. And just like, it's so funny, because oftentimes we separate Flyers fans from like the rest of the fans in Philadelphia, where the Flyers have their cult following type of thing, and sometimes they're not associated with being the same, even though I think of people as 4 for 4 people, no matter what. You're from Philadelphia, the Flyers are on that list, Sixers, obviously, Eagles and Phillies, we know the deal. But listening to the same chant get chanted by Sixers fans as was chanted by Flyers fans, ref, you suck, ref, you suck. I don't know. I was basking in it. It brought joy to me. I felt joy and euphoria hearing that. And on top of all that, listening or seeing Ben Simmons, seeing Tobias Harris, seeing Dwight Howard get the fans into it and raising their hands up while they were on the court trying to make sure they got the frosty freeze out when it came to the Spurs shooting foul shots. I loved them engaging the fans. And this should be no shock. I mean, even Joel Embiid, before fans were allowed back weeks ago, was signaling for the fans to be cheering him on while he was on the court in his, I believe it was his 50-point game against the Bulls. And you love seeing that. And you love seeing that connection. And if you didn't see the game last night, and you didn't see the interaction going on between the Sixers and the fans, just take a look at this dunk by Ben Simmons on the assist. I think it's from Tobias Harris. And he goes right to signal for the fans after this throwdown. Check it out. This was on Sixers Twitter last night. warms my heart. And then Dwight Howard trying to get the fans into it during the Frosty Freeze out as well, raising his arms. Look at
talking about Troutdale, Oregon. Somebody asked me, I'm not going to say who, or
our good friend Mark Zumoff there making the call on NBC Sports Philadelphia. I love seeing the interaction. I love seeing that the fans are supposed to be part of this game and part of the people that are going to be motivating you to be better. And look, last night it certainly didn't hurt. And after the game, you heard Ben Simmons talk about it. Doc Rivers got to coach in front of a Philadelphia fan base for the first time for the Philadelphia fans. And everything that you saw play out last night, if that didn't warm your heart, I don't know what did. I don't know what would, to be honest with you. It was just wonderful to see. From a basketball standpoint, Sixers did what they were supposed to do against a bad team, and even did it to the nth degree, considering still no Joel Embiid. You still haven't had a full squad since you've been come back from the All-Star break, not for at least a couple of minutes there. And you see Ben come back to the lineup, and he did what he's supposed to do. He was aggressive, attacking the rim, setting up his teammates, forcing steals, turnovers, the whole thing. But the person that I am really impressed with, the two people that I'm most impressed with, without Joel Embiid in particular, are Tobias Harris, who had a game high last night, 24, if I'm not mistaken. And you also have, 23 last night. And then you also have Matisse Thybulle, a guy I've been talking about for weeks, developing this 3-and-D type of game when the defense is very much there and you're just waiting on the three. Had another couple threes for you last night. And his hands only are getting faster. And you saw the turnover, and this is what was so wild. You see the turnover late in the game last night that he forced at the top of the key. He goes the other direction. He ends up finding Furkan Korkmaz on the opposite side of the court, and he hits a three. And Furky was 4 for 4 last night from beyond the arc. And Matisse Thybulle never looked at Furkan Korkmaz. It was all peripheral vision. So he keeps his head on a swivel, so to speak. He's dribbling down the court after he forces the steal, after he forces the turnover. He's coming down to the right block of, top of the screen on the opposite side of your screen on TV. And never even looked over at Furkan. Just dribbled down the court and knew he was there. Passed it over to him, and Furkan Korkmaz knocked it down. Watching his maturation process, the Matisse Thybulle maturation process, has been nothing short of awesome. And I love the fact that he is earning his minutes. And Maxey gets into the game. Therese Maxey gets into the game late. I don't want to say it's been disappointing because I still think he could be something in the NBA. But if you remember the early goings of the season, it was like you would see Maxey come off the bench before you see Thybulle come off the bench. And then it was like Doc Rivers was going more so with the matchup and needing that defense in the game, so we'd go to Thybulle. Now it's a matter of Thybulle being one of your big guys off the bench, one of your best guys off the bench, not just in terms of having a strong defender come off the bench, but in terms of a guy that can get you some scoring, get you some offense. 10 points for him last night. I love seeing that. Easy guy to root for, as we know. And we talk about Tobias Harris doing what he should be doing when you don't have a guy like Joel Embiid or when you didn't have a guy like Ben Simmons. Matisse Thybulle has been right up there as far as pleasant surprise throughout the year, and also a guy who's been improving his game the most. Love seeing that. But last night, the communication seemed great on the court. It seemed like from the get-go, even when it was only about a 7 or 8 point game, it seemed like this was a game that everything was going right for the Sixers, and they were making their own destiny. And it was great to see them just do that against a team like the Spurs, and hopefully they'll just continue that without Joel Embiid for the next 2 weeks or so. And hopefully it's not much more than that. And also this, the thing that, aside from the obvious, just not having Joel Embiid, I was really looking forward to these next 10 days, 11 days, 12 days even when you go back to Friday, really. I was really looking forward to seeing what this team was going to do right before the NBA trade deadline and right before Daryl Morey is going to go out and make a move, because I wanted to see how they were as close as possible to making before they made that addition, whoever that's going to be, whatever that's going to be in terms of scorer off the bench, changing up the starting five, and we'll talk to Paul Hudrick about that in terms of what Daryl Morey is going to do. Is he going to bolster the bench, or is he going to make a significant change to the starting five? So we'll talk about that with Paul coming up in a little bit. But I really wanted to see what the Sixers were going to do leading up to that deadline as close as possible, just so you get the most accurate assessment. And it's not like we've had a small sample size. We're obviously past the All-Star break. But for me, yeah, sure. You want to mess with the starting five? I get it. But I still think what this team needs, even though it was a great display from the bench, they still need another scorer off the bench. Shake Milton's good. I'd still like to see them take a step up in that regard, and I think a lot of people are on board with that as well. If you're going to go for a Kyle Lowry, then you're going to talk about messing with maybe the chemistry of that starting five. But there's something about knowing that this team is run by Ben Simmons, knowing that it's run by Joel Embiid. It makes me feel like if you still have Seth Curry, who has been streaky with threes, and him and Danny Green were just off the chart last night in terms of knocking down threes. If you're going to mess with that, I think you at least have a coach right now that can figure out the chemistry faster than what we've seen in years prior. And I think Doc Rivers can certainly thrive, as he has done in the past, by putting together starting fives and making sure they get on the same page as fast as possible. Last year, probably with the Clippers, was the exception with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. But I think here in Philadelphia with the younger team, I think that they'll take his teachings maybe just a little bit better. So we'll see what happens in the next 10 days now away from the NBA trade deadline. That's probably off the radar. One of the things that hurts the most about not seeing Joel Embiid in the lineup, aside from the obvious, aside what's very much on the radar, that he's just a great player in the MVP. Speaking of that, back to Doc Rivers. Loved him on Friday. Just casually dropped when he was asked about Joel Embiid, the first time he was asked about Joel Embiid's injury. And he said that he looks fine, he's in good spirits and all that. They're going to wait for the MRI, not going to speculate. But he just casually dropped. Well, and obviously Joel Embiid is the MVP of the NBA. And I was like, I'm sorry? What is it? Huh? Just casually, he is the MVP of the NBA. Just casually. So in Doc Rivers' mind, he's got the Defensive Player of the Year in Ben Simmons, and he's got the MVP of the league in Joel Embiid. You know, why not? Let's throw it all the way back to 2001. Why not get the MVP, the Defensive Player of the Year? Can Shake Milton win Sixth Man of the Year? Probably not, but maybe in the future. And then Coach of the Year in Doc Rivers. Why not? Throw it back to 2001, except this time around, hopefully the Sixers will win the NBA title. It was just, again, I love it, 134-99, the win over the Spurs last night, and a frosty freeze-out or two for Sixers fans. Congratulations to Sixers fans at the Wells Fargo Center last night. I got some football news I want to get to you right now. We got some Jalen Hurts workout video, and a modern-day athlete, if you're working out and you're not putting it on social media, are you even working out? So we'll talk about that. But I do want to get to this news because last week, you may recall, I believe it was Mike Silver, NFL Network, talking about how Zach Ertz was going to be traded in the coming days. Away from the Eagles. Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network chimed in on that yesterday. I believe this was yesterday morning. Here is the latest on where we're at right now with Zach Ertz, the Philadelphia Eagles, and a potential trade.
Well, Andrew, the Eagles insist they will not release their three-time Pro Bowl tight end Zach Ertz. And with multiple teams having shown interest in a trade, I'm told that Ertz is growing increasingly impatient with the team to get something done. To this point, the price has just been too high for other teams. The Eagles have been looking for a draft pick, something in the third, maybe fourth round range. Ertz is due $8.5 million in the last year of his contract in 2021. It's not an astronomical number, but remember, he's 30 years old. He's coming off of an injury. It's hard to get that type of draft pick compensation. So while the Eagles are insistent that they would be happy to have Ertz on the roster in 2021, Andrew, remember, his good friend Carson Wentz already traded away to the Colts. Certainly sounds as if Ertz is eager for a fresh start here.
I'll say this. I don't want any reports of Zach Ertz being frustrated or whatever, because that only hurts the Eagles in terms of it puts them in a corner saying, you guys have to trade him, so we don't want to give you anything more than a fourth-round pick. Take a fourth-round pick and be happy. What I see happening, and obviously the report's already out there, but what I see happening is similar to that of Carson Wentz. What do we know when a deal drags on, when a looming trade just keeps on dragging? You're holding out to try to get as much as possible, as you should be doing. And I even said Howie Roseman was doing exactly what he should be doing with Carson Wentz, waiting to see if somebody else balks, waiting to see if somebody else goes, all right, fine, here's your second-round pick, whatever it might be. In this regard, if Tom Pelissero is reporting right now that Zach Ertz is going to be dealt for maybe a third or fourth round pick, it makes me feel like right now the Eagles are sitting on a fourth round pick and they're hoping to maybe get a conditional third round pick, or maybe if Zach Ertz plays similar to the way Carson Wentz's deal is or trade was structured, plays so many snaps, so many yards, so many catches, whatever it might be, that the Eagles could actually move up and it becomes a third round pick. Or maybe they're sitting on that third and they're crossing their fingers for a second. That's highly less likely, I would agree. I would say. But that's where I think that's where the Eagles are right now. I think the Eagles have a 4th-round pick in their pocket right now in terms of what they could get back for Zach Ertz. But what they're sitting and hoping for right now and crossing their fingers for is getting that 3rd-round pick, or at least some type of contingency plan that could bounce up to a 3rd-round pick, similar to Carson Wentz possibly getting you a 1st-round pick as opposed to a 2nd-round pick back from the Indianapolis Colts. That's where we're at right now as far as that goes. And I would hate to see Zach Ertz go. It's going to happen. I think he's played his last down as a Philadelphia Eagle, as I've been saying, and other people have reported as well. But it sucks to know that you're going to be at the end of something. He's going to want a new deal. So the other team is also factoring that in as well. We know a lot of this. I'm just hoping it comes to fruition and actually it gets carried out in the not too distant future, maybe the coming days, as it was reported last week. But it seems like that's all the Eagles are doing right now, is just sitting, waiting, hoping they can get more than a 4th-round pick. And if you remember our conversation with Zach Berman last week from The Athletic, a 4th-round pick does not seem worthy of Zach Ertz. It seems like it's below his value. Zach Berman flat out told us last week when I asked him about his value on the market, he said it's far below what it should be. And I agree with that, and this is where it comes into timing. And people talk about getting a 1st-round pick for Sam Bradford all those years ago. He wasn't worth a 1st-round pick, but at that exact moment, he was worth a 1st-round pick. Zach Ertz is worth more than a 4th-round pick. But right now, he might not be. Kyle Rudolph being out there, the Eagles knowing he's in a situation where he's going to want a bigger contract, he's going to want a new contract, the team trading for him knows that's going to be part of the deal as well. So, yeah, unfortunately, Zach Ertz is better than a 4th-round pick. But right now in the NFL, money-wise, he's not. Similar along the lines of you don't get what you're paid, you get what you negotiate. That's kind of where we're at right now with Zach Ertz in that deal. Once again, if you're a professional athlete and you're working out and you're not putting it on social media, are you even working out? Well, Jalen Hurts, he didn't put this on social media. Greg Ward did. I believe they're in Texas working out. Jalen Hurts throwing passes to Greg Ward and Jalen Reagor, I believe, as well. This is courtesy of Greg Ward's Instagram account. Let's just look at the crispness in the offseason of the Eagles' new quarterback, Jalen Hurts. Will be taking him into next year for all intents and purposes right now. Look at that. Look, great drop back, crisp release. I'd say Super Bowl. I think we're ready here. Everybody impressed? Drink it in. Yes. Here comes. Deep ball. On the money. On the money. There you go. Now you've seen it. They're working out. And you might say, oh, well, come on, he's a professional athlete. I'm supposed to be excited about him working out? Well, no. But if you're a football fan, it's always good to just watch somebody else play football, right? Especially if that guy's you're going to be your new franchise quarterback. That's where we're at. I'm all for it. If you're going to put the videos out there, we're certainly going to watch them, and we're certainly going to dissect them. I'm not going to lose my mind. If I'm the guy talking about spring training, how much does it matter versus preseason and all that? How much is a guy with no rush? How much is that going to factor into your evaluation of him going into a season? Not very much, but hey, they're working out. One of the criticisms of Carson was he wasn't working out. I saw him out there. I think it was John Clark put out the picture of him and some guys out there in Minnesota working out wherever they were. Good for him. Athletes working out, never a bad thing. Coming up in a minute, before we get to Paul Hudrick, we're going to talk some Sixers with him, of course. I want to tell you about my good friend, Steven Singer of Steven Singer Studios. Love talking about our friend, Steven Singer. And I can tell you the competition, they must really hate this guy because he makes the experience of buying a diamond better and better every single time. He actually makes it fun. Go figure. Steven is the very first to officially offer every single customer the perfect price. That's right, the perfect price. Ever wonder if you're getting the best price? If you're comfortable negotiating? Well, head to Steven Singer Jewelers and you're guaranteed to get the perfect price. You never pay more than the guy sitting next to you. And here's a little insider tip. Most jewelers, they mark their merchandise way up. Just mark it down, just to mark it down to make it feel like you're actually getting a deal. The guy next to you may be paying less. You might be thinking that. Guess what? Not happening, because everybody at Steven Singer Jewelers gets the perfect price every single time. You want to feel like you're making the most important purchase of your life and be worried about your negotiating skills? No, of course not. You want to be concentrating on the diamond itself. Not the case. Steven Singer Jewelers, they're taking care of everybody with that perfect price, so you don't have to worry about your negotiating skills. Steven Singer Jewelers, you're guaranteed the perfect price all day, every day, 365 days a year. That's why we trust Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. He makes the experience of buying a diamond so easy. So check it out, Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right in Philadelphia, or online at IHateStevenSinger.com. Steven Singer Jewelers, one place, one price. Before I go any further, before we get to Paul, I do want to say this too. Congratulations to Drexel, number 16. They're getting a number 16 seed in the NCAA tournament. They're going to be taking on number 1 Illinois. Very tough matchup. Don't have to say that. And also Villanova, number 5 seed, going up against Winthrop. Both games are going to be on Friday, by the way. So Drexel, number 16, taking on Illinois, and Villanova, number 5, taking on Winthrop. So we'll check those games out on Friday. I am beside myself, and I'll get into this a little bit later. I feel like of all the stuff, and I talked about already, how we had fans back at the stadium yesterday at the Wells Fargo Center for the first Sixers game in over a year. I feel like the NCAA tournament is one of those things that is going to make you feel all the more normal. Fans being back, sure, great. And that is fantastic. But there's something about the college athlete getting an opportunity at that one shining moment, that we didn't get to see last year and they were robbed of last year. There's something about them getting that opportunity this year that makes you feel like you're getting back into it, because the NCAA tournament is one of those things that you feel like it's almost like the Super Bowl in terms of it has mass appeal. The person in the office that never follows college basketball is filling out a bracket simply because they might like one mascot over another. The office pools, the whole thing. So it has that mass appeal, that general type of appeal to everybody, where you feel like you can get behind it and get into it no matter what. So I am looking forward to seeing some games on Thursday, things tipping off, teams getting underway, and these athletes getting another opportunity at, once again, that great moment that they've been playing their basketball careers for to this point. So good for them. Happy to see it. I'm actually liking Gonzaga, and unfortunately the team that's going up against the Drexel Dragons here locally. I really like Illinois this year. Those are the two teams I'm looking at that I think are going to go pretty deep. And then it might be chalk with number 1 seeds. I get it. And Gonzaga seems to always disappoint. There's something about that squad this year that I really like. So we'll all be paying attention to it. We'll be following it. I know it'll be part of our morning rush and opening segments throughout the show. So for the next month. So I really look forward to breaking it all down with you fine people. All right, let's jump to the Zatos Investments guest line and check in with my good friend, Paul Hudrick. Here he is joining us on the Zatos Investments guest line, our friend from 97.3 ESPN, Sixers Insider, as well as Coming In for a Landing podcast, my good friend, the very well-bearded Paul Hudrick. Paul, what's happening, brother?
Just living the dream, Mark. You know me, day at a time. And I appreciate you respecting the beard. It's kind.
I noticed you trim it up a little bit. You're getting a little
clean, a little cleaner. Yeah.
very, very nice, man. Well, I'll tell you, I am blown away, almost as blown away by the Sixers as the Sixers' opponent, huh? Anyway, sorry, I couldn't help myself. Anyway, they're poop canning teams, Paul. They're poop canning teams is what they're doing. I can't get over it, and it's without Joel Embiid. It was without Ben Simmons, and now the band's together, with the exception of the obvious Joel Embiid, and they still go out there and put up a 134-point performance against the Spurs. What really dazzled you the most in this victory?
Well, I would say what's kind of dazzled me for the first 3 games out of the break, as you mentioned, no Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid. They blow out Chicago. No Ben Simmons in DC. They blow out the Wizards. And then tonight, no Embiid, but Simmons back. They blow out the Spurs. It's just team basketball. I hate to oversimplify it too much, but they're just doing everything right. They're running their offense. They're moving the ball well. They're playing really good defense. Doc Rivers told us before the second half started, he said, our focus is our transition defense, which they really have been very poor at to start the season, and pick and roll defense. And you see the first 3 games. I mean, that's those two things. And then what I have enjoyed, what I really noticed too, is their help defense. Them helping on the weak side. They are just doing such an excellent job in that regard. And I do, a lot of it is just them playing together. They have now played together for a half a season. They're starting to figure each other out. They know Doc Rivers' system. They know what he wants. And so it's been a big help. The biggest thing has been too, I mean, the bench, which I have much maligned, and I am a maligner, if you will, of that bench very often. And I still, I'm still not completely sold on it, but the last handful of games, they have been outstanding. And it's been because of those things, because they've moved the ball very well. They're running the offense, and they're playing really good team defense. And it's, yes, certain guys have stepped up, but I just think overall as a team, they are just playing really good basketball.
If there's anything I say about you when people ask me about you, I'm like, well, he's a maligner. That's the problem with that Paul Hudrick.
I don't even know if that's a thing.
All the time. No, it is now. We're gonna make a T-shirt with malign on it. Actually, so the defense has been great. Help defense. I've noticed they have stepped up their game in that regard. But I really liked after the game, after the win over the Spurs, you have Doc Rivers address the media, and he made a comparison to Ben Simmons that I've never heard before, but I like it. I want to get your thought on it. He's like a catcher in baseball. And we, of course, love JT Realmuto, and we love that he can, control a game and the way he calls a game and all that. But Doc Rivers came out and said that his point guard or his facilitator, Ben Simmons, is calling the right plays. He's calling a great game. Does he have that much control of the offense? Because I wouldn't know it by watching. I mean, I know the impact he has, but does he have that type of control where he could call the play ahead of time?
Well, I think it's that, and it's just because most offense in the NBA isn't necessarily like set plays. It's more like free-flowing. But you can see, I mean, he directs traffic out there. I mean, he's definitely telling guys where they're supposed to be. He's calling his own number when he feels like he's got a mismatch. He's finding the mismatches for his teammates when, whether it's Tobias, whether it's, Seth Curry gets a big switch down on him. He's finding those things. So I just think it's not necessarily, when we say running the offense, it's not necessarily, back in the day, you're the point guard, you're up, you're calling one or whatever. It's him getting guys where they're supposed to be and then finding the plays or finding the mismatches, I should say, in that half-court offense. Obviously, in transition, we know what he can do. He's one of, if not the most dangerous transition player in the entire NBA. He assists on a ridiculous amount of threes, and that's what was crazy to me. I thought in the beginning of the game he was a little rusty, but he was a little rusty. He had 7 assists, and I'm like, okay, this guy already looks like this is what this guy looks like, rusty. And then the second quarter, you saw him again, like I mentioned previously, just kind of call his own number. The Spurs have very talented guards, but they are a little undersized. So when he has a guy on him, he took him into the post. That little right hand hook shot has been almost automatic for him recently. He's really hit that at a high level. But yeah, I just think, and it's not just offense. I think defensively too. Like he just controls the game. I feel like for the Sixers on both ends of the floor. And when he wasn't scoring to start the season, I know a lot of people were concerned. The shooting numbers were down. He wasn't scoring as much. But Doc Rivers kept telling us, like, guys, you need to watch everything because that's what he was doing. He was controlling the game on both ends of the floor. And when he's doing that and he's scoring, that puts him in a whole other category altogether.
Paul, if you could reenact for me and also take me through all the emotions you experienced when you saw Joel Embiid go down with that knee injury in D.C. against the Wizards. What was your reaction? What were your emotions? Take me through it.
Well, I mean, I was kind of just silent because you just think, I mean, and even on Twitter, if you look at my Twitter, I didn't even say anything when it happened just because I didn't know, like, what do you say? Right. The guy's, to me, the clear-cut front-runner MVP of the entire league. He just comes back from an injury. And I think, like, what kind of raced through my mind was, of course, I mean, we all think the worst, right? Like, that's where, especially as Philadelphia sports fans growing up, like, this is where we all go. We go to the worst, darkest place first. So I just thought to myself, like, I just felt bad for the guy because this dude has worked. So, he's taken so much criticism, some of it, pretty fair early on in his career about being in shape, maybe not going 100% every single night. But, this year, man, like, he hired a world-class nutritionist in the offseason. He's gotten his body right. I think he's listening to his body as far as, when he has that back tightness, just saying, you know what, I shouldn't play tonight. I don't feel right. And then, but also knowing on certain nights, like, you know what, my back's a little sore, but I'm good. Like, I can play through it. And he's done everything right so far this season. So, like, for me, it was just crushing to see, like, here's a dude that is playing at his absolute peak. He's just all the little things that they have required of him, that they've needed of him over the years. He's finally figured it all out. It's all coming together. And for that to happen for like a season-ending injury, I was gutted for the guy. I felt bad for him. And then obviously very relieved when I wake up to see the news that, it's just a bone bruise. Of course, this is going to hurt his MVP campaign. Missing 2 weeks, it is what it is. But having him for the playoffs means more than that, means more than a number one seed. The fact that he is going to be back at some point, it's reevaluated in 2 weeks. We'll see what happens from there. But very relieved for him and for the team that not as serious as injury as maybe we all feared.
No, absolutely. I'm right there with you as far as that goes. Tobias Harris. We talk all the time about Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. Those are the guys that were, drafted here, born and raised here in the professional sense, right? And we've watched them come along as pros. But Tobias Harris is a guy that bounced around, came here last year, and we have seen him, or 2 years ago, came here and has really stepped up his game, especially right now without Joel Embiid, without Ben Simmons. And he has helped really become a leader on this team. How important is he to the Sixers run if they are going to make, in fact, a deep playoff run?
It's crazy to think about, Mark. Like a few months ago, I'm getting trade machine pitch trades sent to me on Twitter. Every other one has Tobias Harris in it, and getting, not quite frankly, a guy that you would never trade for now. Like, think about, he has gone from a guy who, like he said, he mentioned it the other day, like Philadelphia fans would have escorted him out of his own home gladly, to now he is one of their most indispensable players. Like there is short of a superstar, there is no player I would probably want to, trade for Tobias Harris right now, because he's just been that good. I mean, the offseason we're saying guys like Buddy Hield, and like, think about it, Mark. Would you trade Buddy Hield for Tobias Harris right now?
Right? No,
you wouldn't do it, because he's been that good, and it's all credit to him. He went to work in the offseason, every offseason, and that's the one thing I've always said about this guy. Yeah, he's got his limitations. He makes a lot of money. Is he that near max player? Probably not. But he has improved throughout his entire career, and he's added things to his game throughout. He came to the league. He was not a three-point shooter. He has become one. When he got to Philadelphia, he was not a very good defensive player. He's gotten to a point where I'd say he is above average, and he's got some versatility. And in his body, I mean, you see every year he comes in, he's in great shape, and I think he's kind of gotten slimmer and slimmer every year. And the work this guy puts in, that's the one thing you can never doubt about this guy. He is a worker. He's going to improve. He's going to find ways to make his game better. And I think it's a combination of that. Plus, I think he's way more comfortable in Philadelphia. He's gotten comfortable with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. The Doc Rivers factor, absolutely cannot overstate that. And Sam Cassell, too. Sam Cassell is a guy who is he's getting a lot of credit for what he's done for Ben Simmons, rightfully so. But he's done a lot for Tobias Harris as well. So I just think, he is as important. It's Joel Embiid, it's Ben Simmons, and then it's very clearly Tobias Harris. Those three are incredibly important. If the Sixers want to get to where they want to get to, this version that we've seen, like the guy we saw tonight against the Spurs, that guy has to show up in the playoffs for the Sixers to have a chance to get to the finals.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. Somebody else I need to ask you about in terms of a maturation process and watching him come along is Matisse Thybulle. And it seems like in the time where they didn't have Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons, it seems like if Tobias Harris struggled, it seems like Matisse Thybulle has started to step up to that plate, not just in the defensive game that I think he could do in his sleep, but also in the offensive game where he's starting to hit some three-pointers as well.
The two games coming out of the break might have been like the best two games I've ever seen him play when you look at both ends of the floor and just how impactful he is. Like you said, I mean, defensively, and he's not only now is he making the impactful plays, he's playing much smarter. He's guarding, the other team's best player. If Ben Simmons isn't guarding him, Matisse is, or when Ben Simmons goes to the bench, then Matisse takes over. So not only is he going up against Zach LaVine or Bradley Beal, he's still being disruptive. And then you mentioned the offensive end of the floor. His shot looks really good right now. He hit a couple more threes tonight against the Spurs. He hit three in I believe, did he hit three? I can't remember exactly. I think he hit three in Chicago.
Oh, Chicago.
He was in DC, yeah. And the shot looks good. Yeah, sure. Accuracy, what does it matter? No, but his shot looks good. He's not hesitating. It's in a rhythm. He's starting to understand floor spacing a little bit better. I mean, that whole bench unit has played much better, and I think he's been a part of that, understanding where he needs to be on the floor, understanding when he needs to cut. Doc Rivers mentioned he's been used a little bit as a screener as of late, which is not something that he's customarily done, but he can do it. And then kind of his athleticism, he can roll to the rim every once in a while, or, he's pretty good at offensive rebounds as well every once in a while when he's not trying to get back on defense. So he is really, he's coming along. And like I said, these 3 games, he's been so impressive. If he's hitting threes, not even at a high level, Mark, a respectable level. If he's hitting threes at a respectable level, you can't take him off the court because his defense is that impactful. So if you're a Sixers fan, just hope this guy shoots like 36% or so from 3. If he can do league average, this guy could be, one of the better two-way wings coming off a team's bench. He'll be huge against a team like Milwaukee, a team like obviously Brooklyn. He's going to be a big part of this thing if he can continue to make shots and kind of continue to grow his offensive game.
No threes versus DC, but 3 for 3 from beyond the arc in their win over Chicago. So good hustle to you, sir. That's why you have the basketball podcast and I don't.
Sure.
But real quick, is Tyrese Maxey just not a thing anymore? Is he just what's the deal there? What have you heard?
I think it's just a numbers game.
Okay.
And it's just he's a 20-year-old rookie. So the fact that he was even in the rotation for a team that wants to win a championship, the fact that he was even in that conversation to start the season is a credit to him and how talented I think he is and how good he can be. I still think he's still got some developmental things to work on. The shot needs to get better. That was, a concern coming in from a lot of people. I think the shot can be good, but it's not where it needs to be right now. I think he needs to add a little bit more functional strength to take punishment at the rim when he drives, draw a little bit more contact and get some fouls. I think he is immensely talented. I still think he's got a really bright future, and they still might need him. Injuries happen. You don't want them to happen, but it's a reality. So if a ball handler goes down, Tyrese Maxey is the next man up in that regard. So, is he going to be in the rotation for the rest of the season? I strongly doubt it. Could he have a role at some point? Sure. But I think, again, as a 20-year-old rookie, this is what you should expect. This team's trying to win a championship. And so, I still love the player, and I still think he's going to be a very, very good one for a long time.
All right, I got to ask you about the trade deadline coming up, and we're looking at a situation less than 2 weeks away. My proposal, and I don't think anyone says no to this, and I think it's an obvious one, Tony Bradley for Zach LaVine. Who says no? What do you think?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think Daryl Morey needs a little more than that, personally. No,
Tony Bradley's been amazing, is what I'm saying.
No, he's been very good. I've been really, and like tonight against the Spurs, he wasn't spectacular. It wasn't as good as he maybe was against Chicago, but they don't need him to be. You have great play. You have an all-star and a borderline all-star, and then you have 2 really good veteran shooters in the starting lineup. All you need to do if you're Tony Bradley, set good screens, offensive rebound, and play solid defense at the rim. Like you just. What I liked tonight was energy and no mistakes. Those are the 2 big things. If he plays with energy and he doesn't make mistakes, he will be fine. And he'll play. And I think he'll, 2 weeks. They just got to weather the storm and then hope Joel Embiid is healthy enough to play in 2 weeks. But to have a third center like Tony Bradley, like when that trade happened for Zaire Smith, everyone was kind of like, okay, like why Tony Bradley? Okay. But now it's looking like kind of a masterstroke because this kid has a little something. And if he's your third center, you're in a pretty good place.
No doubt. Last thing, as far as that deadline goes, in all seriousness, what are we doing here? Where do you think Daryl Morey goes? He's been praising his bench on social media lately, and rightfully so. But where do you think they go? Do they add to the starting lineup? Change the starting lineup? Do they add to the bench? Where do you see him going?
Well, first of all, Daryl Morey knows what he's doing. Yeah, I love my bench. I don't want to trade any of these guys.
Yeah, right.
What are you, nuts? I would never
point.
trade Matisse Thybulle. No, but I do think he's, I think they like the roster overall. I really do. Listen, if you have a chance to get a Kyle Lowry, you have to swing at it, right? You have to kick the tires on it. I don't know that Toronto's going to do it. I don't know. The only way I see Toronto doing is if Kyle Lowry really, doesn't want to re-sign there in the offseason and really wants to go to a team that he believes has a chance to win a title this year. The Sixers would be the best position team because they are good, first of all. Kyle Lowry is from Philadelphia, so of course this would be an attractive place. And they would have, you would think that Kyle Lowry, if he was going to re-sign somewhere, Philadelphia would be a very attractive place for him to re-sign in the offseason. So, and the Sixers have really good assets. They have tradable contracts to make it work. They have good young players. They have all their first round picks outside of the 2025 one. So they have a lot of assets that they can make a Kyle Lowry trade work. It's all going to be in, really, I think it's mostly in Kyle Lowry's hands, what he wants to do. So we'll kind of see where that is. To me, I don't know if any other guys like the bigger names that we've heard. Like I don't think Beal or Levine are going to be out there. A guy like Oladipo, I don't know if it's worth messing with the chemistry of the starting five to bring in that kind of guy, because you don't know how good he's going to be. Mm-hmm. The starting five has been great when they're at full. And you saw against the Spurs when Danny Green and Seth Curry are making shots. Woo. This team is going to be like impossible to beat, like really. So to me, what I think is most likely is a trade or two that's going to boost the bench. Okay. Nothing crazy. I would like to see another ball handler, another true point guard to maybe take some pressure off Shake Milton, maybe create a little bit more off the dribble. And then just another depth guy, whoever that is, whether that's I know a lot of people have been freaking out about a stretch five. I don't know if you need that, because I think Ben Simmons could give you a little stretch 5 minutes, playing in that small ball five role. A PJ Tucker would be obviously a tremendous fit, I feel like. I know he's a little bit older, not having a good year, but defensively what he could do, especially against a team like the Nets in a 7-game series, and he can hit corner threes. I mean, he could be a really interesting fit. So I would say guys like that, like more role players. I know Will Barton was a name I've heard is out there from Denver. Mm-hmm. I think he would be an excellent fit coming off the bench, maybe a slight upgrade over, not a slight. I mean, it's an upgrade over a guy like Furkan Korkmaz. So I would say, don't hold your breath for a Kyle Lowry deal. I'm sure they're going to try, but I would say they're going to make moves that are just going to improve this bench and fortify the depth.
Real quick, how much better did the Nets get by adding Blake Griffin? I know he's not Blake Griffin, Clippers Blake Griffin, I get it, but how much better did they get by adding him?
It's hard to know because I don't know what he is. I expect him to be better than what he was in Detroit this year because I just think it was a miserable situation.
Yeah, he's motivated now. Yeah.
Right, exactly. He's motivated. He's on a contender. He's playing with great players. This is where he wanted to be. He chose to sign with the Nets. They're going to use him in better ways too. You would think they're going to give him a decent role. So if he could be, I don't know, he might be able to help them. If he finds his shooting touch again, he could probably play pretty well as like a small ball five. But yeah, the athleticism just isn't what it used to be. Not the rebounder he used to be. So he might help them. For them, it's a no risk signing. I mean, he's on the veteran minimum. If you can get something out of him, great. But I don't think it's like this move that automatically says, oh, wow, now the Nets are going to be the East favorite. If you thought like that move doesn't separate them, like they're already great with the 3 stars they have. I don't think Blake Griffin is a needle mover to me, at least not from what I've seen from him in Detroit.
Gotcha. Honestly, last thing. So how's the podcast going? Coming in for a landing? How's the Sixers Insider? Obviously, we get the inside tips from you here. You're working with 97.3 ESPN as well. So how are things going for you, brother?
Things are going well, man. I'm enjoying the podcast. It's fun. It's fun to do my own thing. I've toyed with the idea of having a co-host, but I kind of like it being all about me. You know how it is, Mark.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I really love me some me. No, no, I just, it's cool
to say. That's why you and I are friends. I swear that's where I went mentally. I don't even do the show to a camera. I just have a mirror right there, and I just stare at myself.
It's just your daughter. Daughter's just like clapping every once in a while, and that's good enough.
Exactly right.
No, but yeah, it's cool, man. It's cool to have different kinds of people on. I've obviously made a lot of good friends over the years. Met a lot of really cool people who know a lot about basketball. So it's been really fun. And then even the solo episodes where I get to do like mailbag stuff where fans send in questions. I love doing that kind of thing too. I love the interaction. It's fun. It's been a lot of fun, and 97.3 has been very good to me too. So can read all my stuff on their website. It's been good stuff so far there as well.
Great. Paul, always a pleasure. And as always, say hi to your sweet mother for me. All right.
I will. She still hasn't figured out how to watch this, but she'll get the technology one day where she'll get up to speed.
I'll send her I was going to say Linktree, and I'm like, if we're still struggling with that, I won't even send the Linktree. Yeah, I'll just text you that link, and then we'll send her the YouTube page.
There you go.
Paul, always great catching up, man. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon. Paul Hudrick, 97.3 ESPN, as well as Coming In for a Landing podcast. Paul, thank you as always.
Anytime, Mark. My pleasure, man.
I'm in. Once again, my thanks to Paul Hudrick helping us out there on the Zatos Investments guest line. Before we get to our morning rush, before we get to our social media check-in, I do want to tell you about some great people that you can bet with during the big tournament that's getting underway. March is the biggest month, and that's why you got to use DraftKings. That's right. March's biggest tournament is finally here. So what do we do? What do we know? We got to go down and we got to make sure we use DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. They're putting new customers in the center of the action. Bet $4 on any underdog in the tournament, win $256. If they win, it's just that simple. Turning $4 into $256. I mean, it's just great odds for you right there. Every dollar you bet could turn into $64. Pick one of the many selected college basketball underdogs for a shot at winning $256, and it takes a $4 bet to do so. This is what you call a no-brainer from DraftKings Sportsbook. No better way to put your college basketball knowledge to the test than putting your money where your mouth is with DraftKings Sportsbook. Don't worry if college basketball isn't for you. DraftKings Sportsbook offers great odds and promotions on golf, hockey, and so much more. DraftKings Sportsbook, safe, secure, reliable, easy to deposit as well as withdraw your funds at your convenience. Right now, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app and use promo code Farzy, that's promo code Farzy, to sign up and turn $4 into $256. Once again, my thanks to Paul Hudrick helping us out there on the Zatos Investments guest line. Before we get to our morning rush, before we get to our social media check-in, I do want to tell you about some great people that you can bet with during the big tournament that's getting underway. March is the biggest month, and that's why you got to use DraftKings. That's right. March's biggest tournament is finally here. So what do we do? What do we know? We got to go down and we got to make sure we use DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. They're putting new customers in the center of the action. Bet $4 on any underdog in the tournament, win $256. If they win, it's just that simple. Turning $4 into $256. I mean, it's just great odds for you right there. Every dollar you bet could turn into $64. Pick one of the many selected college basketball underdogs for a shot at winning $256, and it takes a $4 bet to do so. This is what you call a no-brainer from DraftKings Sportsbook. No better way to put your college basketball knowledge to the test than putting your money where your mouth is with DraftKings Sportsbook. Don't worry if college basketball isn't for you. DraftKings Sportsbook offers great odds and promotions on golf, hockey, and so much more. DraftKings Sportsbook, safe, secure, reliable, easy to deposit as well as withdraw your funds at your convenience. Right now, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app and use promo code Farzy, that's promo code Farzy, to sign up and turn $4 into $256 if the underdog of your choosing pulls off the upset. That's promo code Farzy to turn $4 into $256 for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Pennsylvania only, new customers only, restrictions apply, in partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And how about our friends at Zatos Investments? Info at ZatosInvestments.com as well as ZatosInvestments.com. They're an up-and-coming luxury real estate development and investment company in the Philadelphia area. They design and develop top-of-the-line custom homes all around the city, ranging from small single-family rehabs to ground-up new construction, as well as townhomes, condo buildings. Zatos also works closely with their private investor base to provide them with substantial returns on their investment, ranging from 20 to 40%. These guys are crushing it right now in the Philadelphia real estate game. To see some of their properties, as well as to learn more on how you can invest with Zatos, reach out to info at ZatosInvestments.com or visit ZatosInvestments.com. Finally, the mouth water. I played for you before how great this place looks, how great their food looks. Steak and Maine, fine dining in the heart of Northeast Maryland. Whether you dine in a more upscale steakhouse or casual bar and patio, you'll enjoy the highest quality prime meats, fresh seafood, world-class oyster bar, and freshly prepared sushi. They got it all at Steak and Maine. See, my man Tony Cavada does a fantastic job with Steak and Maine. All the exclusive wine lists as well, with Cavada Cellars wines, from his family to yours at the table. Make sure you indulge. Open every day for lunch, dinner, or Sunday brunch. Steak and Maine in Northeast Maryland voted #1 place for steaks in America by the Travel Channel and the Cooking Channel. Check it out for yourself at steakandmaine.com for more information. Speaking of Steak and Maine, I do want to tell you about some great things they have going on here with not just the restaurant, but also our social media check-in. That is brought to you by Steak and Maine. Now, I've waited on this story because it's so incredible. I am so done with this argument about Ben Simmons being overrated. However, let's just say he's not, just to say that. But let's go to the tape that it made its way around social media on Friday. This was in the game against the Wizards. And Justin Kutcher, who is an announcer for the Wizards broadcast, caught a lot of flack, not just from Sixers fans, but from people around the NBA that took issue with him saying this during Friday's broadcast.
I mean, I've said it before, and I know I'll take flack for it, as Westbrook is at the free throw line as the call on the floor stood, the challenge by Doc Rivers. I think Ben Simmons is one of, if not the most overrated players in the NBA. And he's gotten so much love and attention that people...
Once again, my thanks to Paul Hudrick helping us out there on the Zatos Investments guest line. Before we get to our morning rush, before we get to our social media check-in, I do want to tell you about some great people that you can bet with during the big tournament that's getting underway. March is the biggest month, and that's why you got to use DraftKings. That's right. March's biggest tournament is finally here. So what do we do? What do we know? We got to go.
That people aren't paying attention to what Tobias Harris is actually doing on the floor.
Okay. I don't disagree that Tobias Harris should be an all-star. That's fine. But not at the expense of Ben Simmons. I am beyond done with this argument. The second Doc Rivers came back before the all-star break and said, I didn't even have to campaign for Ben, but I had to campaign for Tobias Harris. Like, coaches around the league were saying, why are you even calling me about Ben? Ben's good to go. Lockdown defender, obviously a great facilitator. We know what Ben Simmons is by now. And I know, and I'm not dismissing the idea of the jump shot. I'm still very much on that bandwagon in terms of just that he has to develop that. It's sooner rather than later, I hope. But that doesn't mean because he doesn't have that one aspect, he sucks or he's overrated. He's a great player, an elite defender. You do anything elite pretty much, you're going to be up there in the conversation of being a great player and being an all-star. But when other coaches around the league are saying you're one of the best, you're an all-star, and it's not even a debate, you don't even need to campaign, and one of the greatest coaches in the history of the NBA, Greg Popovich, comes out and publicly says, hey, you know what? I know a lot of people are talking about his jump shot, how he doesn't have a jump shot. He doesn't even need a jump shot. When Greg Popovich says that, I'm going to go ahead and listen to that. So I'm done with the conversation about Ben Simmons being overrated. He's appropriately rated. He's an all-star. And listening to his rebuttal to that statement made by the Wizards broadcaster last night after the win over the Spurs was pretty remarkable. Here's Ben Simmons responding to the criticism. And apparently if you're short, you can't have a basketball opinion. I say that jokingly, but here's Ben Simmons on his response.
I want to ask you about Justin Kutcher. A couple of days ago, he had some things to say during a game. Does that kind of stuff, how do you think about that kind of stuff when you hear it?
It depends. Like usually I see a lot of on the internet. So when I saw that one, I had plenty of time because I was on quarantine still. So I scrolled through his Instagram, saw who he was. It is what it is. He's like a 5'5" commentator for the Wizards, man. I can't give it too much attention. I was just playing a little game with him, but it is what it is. Everyone has their voice and they can say what they want. But it is what it is.
He's done with it too. And again, hey, those 5'5" people, be careful with your basketball knowledge. No, look, I think he is getting a laugh at it. He's like, I'm a 3-time All-Star. This wasn't some fluke thing where I took away somebody else's spot. I'm a 3-time All-Star, and we're still talking about this. I'm past it. I'm over it. I knew I had to talk about it because it's what made the rounds of social media on Friday. So I wanted to make sure we gave it its just due in our social media check-in. Right there, brought to you by Steak and Maine. To move on now to our morning rush, brought to you by Sky Motorcars and SkyMotorcars.com. This is what I found so interesting. First off, I just want to get this out of the way for the people that didn't see it yesterday. Your number one seeds in the NCAA tournament. Zags, obviously, there. Gonzaga, Baylor, Illinois, and Michigan are your top seeds in the NCAA tournament. This is what will make me feel the most normal. Like I baseball being back and spring training and all that, seeing fans at the stadium, as we've talked about. all that's great, but for some reason, there's something about the college athletes getting this opportunity again after not having it last year, especially because it's right around the time everything shut down and the world went to hell, basically. This makes me feel great. And I am not a touchy-feely type of basketball fan, a college basketball fan, but seeing everybody back and seeing the tournament underway and watching conference play over the weekend, and even a team like Georgetown, for instance, having their Cinderella story, kind of beating Villanova and then going on to win their title and all that stuff in the Big East. All that makes me feel so much better about where we're at as a society to see the NCAA tournament getting underway again. I can't wait for everything to really, really get underway, obviously. As far as a score of note worth pointing out in our Morning Rush segment, Celtics last night, it was a night of dominance. Raptors got dominated by the Pelicans last night. Celtics dominated the Rockets 134-107. That is your Morning Rush, brought to you by the great people of Sky Motor Cars. And in closing, as I always like to do, I give you the big bet segment brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Download DraftKings Sportsbook app right now for all bets during the month of March and the craziness that will ensue. The big bet I like tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I like the Lakers -2.5 going up against Golden State at Golden State. I like the Lakers winning that game. They are -2.5, and I got them at -2.5. Why not say that they're going to win by at least 3 points? So go with the Lakers tonight over Golden State. Golden State's coming off a nice win yesterday on Steph Curry's birthday, nonetheless. Ladies and gentlemen, on a Monday morning, it is great to be back with you. Hope you enjoyed the show. My thanks to Paul Hudrick there of 97.3 ESPN, as well of Coming In for a Landing podcast. Tomorrow is a Hughes Day on the Farzy show, so Hugh Douglas will be checking in from Atlanta. My pleasure as always. Hope you enjoyed the show. Jim Hyden produced the program, and this is a Buzz Sports and Entertainment production. Have a great rest of your Monday morning, everybody. Take it easy.